Welcome to the Youngblood podcast. My name is Joshua Clifton, and I am here with my new friend. Well, kind of new. I mean, we've known each other for about a year.
Yeah, I've known you existed.
Existed for about a year. Yeah. Let me say, Mark BLITCH. And real quick, before we go into how we know each other, why don't you say what you do? When you're pitching someone, like what you do. What do you do? Not pitching, but when someone says.
Like my day job or just, my artsy-fartsy job?
Whatever you want to talk about.
No, I mean, I at the risk of sounding pretentious, I would like to call myself a filmmaker.
Yeah, I'd call you a filmmaker for sure.
Well, that's cool. I'll let you do that.
Okay, yeah. He's a filmmaker. And we've been in the same vicinity for the last year. But just recently, and we'd talk, your wife would say you had a movie podcast. We had a movie podcast.
Yeah.
And she kept saying, you guys should talk. And we finally started talking, and then it's clear we needed to talk on this thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And for those of you that are new to the podcast, this podcast is, if it had a tagline, it's art that inspires the artist that inspires today. So throughout your life, there was plenty of art peppered along the way, whether it was music, film, even the way a landscape looks to you, or that made you go, I want to capture this. I want to do more than just be someone that takes it in. I want to make it.
Yeah.
And I think we'll go on that journey, and wherever that conversation takes us, we'll go that route.
Yeah.
So if we were to start someplace, do you remember the moment you wanted to start being someone that created? Because you probably had plenty of opportunity to take in art.
Yeah.
What was the turning point that ignited that spark? Do you know that?
Not specifically. I've always been someone who's wanted to entertain. I'm the youngest of three, and of three kids. So I got everything I wanted. I was class clown, really respectable. I wasn't like a troublemaker,
right?
But I liked making people laugh. I loved attention.
Yeah.
And my family would absolutely, I used to, and this may be some of my, first bit of storytelling was in real time. I would get my bike in front of my house and act as if I had fallen over and was pinned under the bike. And I would moan and kind of look really dramatic, just hoping that cars would drive by and see me and stop and ask if I was okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's...
No, that's part of it.
That's part of it.
That is for sure part of it.
There's something narcissistic about that I'm glad that didn't, fully blossom.
No, I think that's part of learning how to tell a story.
Sure.
Yeah. Because
I want to know how that kid got in his own driveway like that.
Yeah.
That's the question.
You were painting a picture.
Yes.
And your audience was that's the only audience you had.
It's the only audience I had.
And you probably tried it in some ways with your family, but they
knew pretty quickly.
They would go, quit messing around.
I was very there's home videos.
They said go outside.
Yeah. They were fine with me just being outside. No, but then in high school, I think it was, I was kind of flirting with the idea of this would be something funny. I'd never really considered, doing video or, video wasn't really video work as it is back then. It was Hi8. I mean, that was the consumer prosumer brand was Hi8, and Beta and all other stuff. And I never really had a video camera. But then the night after graduation, I think it was called Project Graduation, whatever that was, the event where it's hey, come here and don't get drunk and die. I won a digital Hi8 camcorder.
Really? So it's almost like you won this and your keys were given to you in a way.
Bit? Yeah. And so
that was your MacGuffin?
That was that was the inciting incident for sure.
Yeah.
And so I remember thinking, okay, this summer before I go to college, I was already going to go to Baylor. Me and my friends just screwed around with that camera. We did these, fake slapping videos. We started off kind of in our, like just like in the living room, but you get to play with perspective and get to hide the hands that are, clapping. And then we graduated to like Jackass type videos.
Awesome.
And so there's a full hour and a half of my summers.
So good.
And so we used to like just go sprinting in the Arboretum, which is a place in Austin that, and we would just bite it in front of people.
Yeah.
Or we would pass out in front of people, or we would lay down face first in the grocery store and just record people's like reactions to it.
That's perfect.
And I think that unlocked something where it's like, okay, this is fun for me.
Right.
And then that translated to college, and still not really sure what that looked like. I mean, of course, you always want to be like, oh man, I would love to be a director,
filmmaker,
yeah. But it didn't
work
seem
with the biggest.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was tangible at the time, and so kind of coasted through college, made some short films, kind of got into being kind of the class clown or one of the guys who was always fun.
Yeah.
To screw around with on a set in college. We did the student film stuff, succeeded, failed, learned what I was good at, what I wasn't good at.
Right.
And then I think about I got my first job at a college, which I'm still there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then 5 years into that, there was this horror movie contest where it was like, make a short film in a like it's just basically make a scary short film.
This is the one I saw.
No, it's not.
No. Oh, so this was the first one.
This is like,
okay.
I don't know where.
I was about to say, if this was your first foyer into this.
No.
Holy mackerel! But
no.
We'll get there.
It
Sorry.
was such a piece of trash. But it was one of the ones where you have to make it and then you have to have people vote for it, and it was like purely. So I spammed everybody, got people to vote for it. And then I got enough votes, but then it got that got you into the next round, and then it was judged.
We totally, like, anyone that watches this podcast because of we're in bands, know exactly what you're doing, because we all did that with our songs, Battle of the Bands, trying to spam people. Please vote for we made the second round and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like, we're onto this, so it's the same. It's just different
exactly
ingredients. Continue.
Yeah, no, and then I placed in the top 10. And someone told me, I think it was the guy who helped produce it with me, he's like, you're a filmmaker now. And it didn't really click, because what I was doing is I was, before then for my work, I'm just shooting testimonies, I'm just shooting B-roll, like it's a different kind of, it's more of like a, there's almost like a journey, you're filming people's testimonies, right? And you can be creative in that, but the cameras back then didn't lend itself to being like super cinematic. So I saw it from HDV to then moving up to EX1s and then slowly moving up to Reds, where we're at now. But you just never thought you could do anything with those kind of cameras until now it's ridiculous. I'm a spoiled brat when it comes to it, but
I think it's awesome, dude.
So that unlocked me, like, oh man, I really enjoy doing this, and that led me into speed filmmaking. Just for, I would do. Let's see, there was a one in LA that was the 168 project, which is you get a Bible verse, and then you have 10 days to pre-produce and write it. Then you have a week to shoot to edit a 7 to 11 minute short film.
Based on a verse
in the Bible, and it was I knew I didn't want to make something explicitly faith-based, but it was just a cool way to. It was a good incentive to do something.
Right.
Yeah, and I wanted to do it all myself. I wanted to be the writer. I wanted to be the director. I wanted to be the editor. I wanted to be the actor. I wanted to be the DP and everything. I just wanted all the credit.
Right.
Kind of back when I was younger, and I just wanted people's attention.
Right.
And I did fine. Like, I won, I think, screenplay on one of those. Mm-hmm. And, it's really affirming. It's like, oh, man, I'm not terrible at this.
Well, it's something about throwing yourself into it, too, right?
Oh, yeah.
And saying, okay, first, before I learn how to depend on everyone else, maybe I should learn how to depend on myself and figure it out, too.
Yeah, I wish it was that non-egotistical.
Sorry, I was giving you an out, man. All right.
No.
I've been there, too, man, where like, I need this.
No, I need this.
And that's also a good thing, I think, sometimes.
I think it's good to know what you're good at and what you need work on, and so slowly that led to me meeting people, my co-producer, who's also my writer. Like, we started working together. I just started realizing, like, let's start making stuff that we just want to,
for sure,
have fun with.
I've always felt that I've learned. Sometimes I start projects where I feel like I'm the one that has to be driving this thing.
Yeah.
But I always feel like the better the projects are, it's usually I figured out how to work with a team that their talents helped my talents to help this talent.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost always better. But yeah, that's great. Well, during that intro time, that was a great piece of like your origin story in a way. What art would you point to that really pushed you in points, like maybe a film, maybe a certain director, maybe a certain style? Because I will also say this, and it might compound the question, but it sounded like you learned in a real it might be a poor phrase or example to use, but in a guerrilla way. Like, you learned how to, all right, in a pinch, I can tell a great story. I don't have to worry. You probably also did the long form, take your time with things, but it sounds like the most of the story you tell me, it was like, I had these limitations, and I kicked ass in those limitations.
Sure. Is that you or is that me?
It's this.
Okay. I'm making sure my wife's not texting.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
No, I think always growing up, my dad, we were a big Blockbuster. We were a Blockbuster family. We had I worked at Blockbuster every summer for, whenever I could start working till college. 5 free movies a week. You get the movies before they come out, and I was always the guy who would bring the movie, the movie that, okay, this actually comes out next week, but I got it tonight, guys. We're gonna watch this. I think.
By the way, I always wanted to work at a video store.
Oh, it was the best.
It's the only job, and I usually got most of the jobs I've always wanted to get, like those kind of crappy jobs that, like, man, if I'm gonna have a crappy job, that's the kind of crappy job I want.
Yeah.
That was the only one I never got.
That says a lot. It's really hard to not get a job there.
Well, I just had never had time doing all the other things and trying to make money at the same time.
Sure. Well, you had your hands in a lot of pies, as they say. But I think for me, Jaws was something that just resonated with me. It's still my favorite film of all time. And I remember just watching it at different stages of my life and just looking. It's like each time with any little bit more of knowledge that I would have with how he moves the camera, how he blocks, how he troubled, how he worked in the parameters that, were less than ideal. That for me was really something that was just like, I don't know if it really is influential. Spielberg is the easy answer, but there's a reason why he's kind of an easy answer too, because he is pretty great. But that movie, I think, did that for a lot of people at that time, even as just watchers. Yeah, that was the first time you noticed that, like, something in real life. Another one was Halloween, but something in real life, kind of the 1 and 2, right? My dad introduced me to Halloween. I remember thinking, those are what boobs look like. That's right. You lost your boob virginity. I think so. Baby. And at the first time, you're kind of just like, okay. You weren't. It was kind of. I think Airplane was mine. Airplane. Well, I mean, that was T-shirt. That was like a wet T-shirt. Yeah. No. It's straight on boobs. Oh, you're right. Like when everyone's going crazy, it's PG. And I introduced my kids to that this year and completely forgot about that. I completely forgot about it too, because I think I watched the TBS or TNT version for the longest time, or USA. But what's funny, you say Spielberg influencing everyone else. It's like Jordan Peele's. He did Nope, obviously. Yeah. And one thing that he said that was really fascinating was, I want the characters to think that they're in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but they're actually in Jaws. That is so. It felt like that, dude. It is. There's a Quint character who's literally reeling in film like he's reeling in a shark. And you're seeing, and the ocean is the sky and the clouds. That's perfect. Yeah, and you're seeing it behind. It's so good. It goes up my Jordan Peele list a little bit each time I watch it. Even this is so good. Even the. Whenever they're pulling the stuff out of the not Jaws, but the other shark
they're pulling the
Is the tiger shark in the first one?
yeah, where they're pulling, they get like a license plate and all that because they're looking for the little boy.
Yeah.
And we kind of get that kind of moment too when they spit out the fake horse, and you're getting all the there's so many similarities there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just not one, but I want it to be.
No,
that.
sure. Let's run with it.
Yeah. That's cool. But Jaws, but then also Halloween. Let's talk about Halloween for a second.
Okay.
And I know Eric. Did you want to jump in here? If you hear a voice and just no camera on him, that's Eric Jones, everyone. I could hear you better if I could, please.
It was my fault.
Oh, there you
go. Whoopsie daisy. No, we were talking this past Sunday in the green room, and I had mentioned that like some horror movie franchises like spin out of control at some point. You know, like your Friday the 13th, and I brought up Halloween, and Mark was like, "Dude, don't be careful."
I got right in your face.
Yeah, he's like, "We're treading on whole sacred ground."
Be very careful with how you talk about my Halloween franchise.
This is hallowed
We're not
ground.
talking about Rob Zombie's Halloween, just to be clear.
We're
not.
We're talking about
we're talking about
Donald Pleasance.
Yeah. And
Mustafa.
Yeah. There's a love-hate relationship with.
Yeah. There was a hip hop artist that was in it too.
Busta Rhymes.
Busta Rhymes.
Yeah, that's
and
that was an interesting.
What's funny is for me even saying that statement of how out of control they got eventually.
Yeah.
I think the Busta Rhymes scene where he's wearing the mask, that's my favorite scene of any Halloween movie.
Look, throughout all the cheesiness of that franchise, I went along for the ride, dude. I love that franchise so much.
It's my favorite. I don't know if it's my favorite franchise.
Maybe
it's the one that I will go back to. So yeah, I had a friend who like one of my best buds. He's a theology guy, and he's like, I never saw movies from 1980 to 2000 and whatever. You are my entryway into this.
Wow,
and
what a gift.
So at my work, faith-based work, we would watch the Halloween movies during lunch and watch this essentially Christian version of a tea drinker, like just like the most fancy, and he is just falling in love with Michael Myers, and
so good.
It is, and again, like I understand that Halloween 5 and 6 are and Resurrection are not good movies. I actually can't watch Resurrection anymore.
That's a rough one.
I can't.
But I would probably watch it again. I'd watch it again.
Yeah.
I'll watch it again.
Oh, quick question.
Yeah.
Did you like Halloween 3?
Yeah.
Confession, I saw it for the first time maybe 2 years ago.
Really?
It was one of those where you're like, oh, if you're a Halloween fan, you're not going to want to watch Halloween 3. But it's kind of getting appreciated now.
I thought it was terrifying when I was a kid.
And I think I remember, again, so it's like those movies that you see too late that we talked about, where you haven't seen Goonies.
Yep.
And I'm kind of worried that maybe it won't have the same effect.
Until you have your own kids and you watch.
Yeah.
Or he has kids.
I'm going to watch it with my kids.
Enough, yeah. When they're old enough, you'll watch it with them and you'll feel.
And you'll may regret it because it's a pretty hard PG.
Yeah.
It's a hard PG.
It is a hard PG.
Yeah.
Spielberg loved making kids cuss, man. Super 8. J.J. Abrams took his.
Are you saying that Spielberg directed Goonies?
Yeah.
He didn't.
He didn't. He produced it.
It was Richard Donner.
Oh, see,
score one for Mark.
God.
Can you put a tally mark?
See, this is who we needed on this podcast.
Yeah. I'm gonna correct him whenever I can.
This is gonna be Brady and everybody else that's a normal watcher of this show's favorite show to me be put in my place in these pop culture
I will
moments.
do it. It is something, and it was so funny is that people question my knowledge,
your authority,
and I will be the first to admit when I'm wrong. It just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
of course.
This is great because I've met my match because I'm this in every other circle.
That's great.
It's awesome. I love it.
Is this how he gets passive aggressive? Like it's not awesome.
No, it is. No, I actually do like losing.
No.
Okay.
No, he has learned to take it on the chin and smile through it and go, awesome.
I'll cry later.
No, like, literally, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. I'll work harder.
Careful how you
that.
say that. Yeah.
I'll work harder behind the scenes, and then one day I'll try to act like a spontaneous moment happened for me to get the win.
Yeah.
But I'll be, oh, what's crazy? There's just happened to be this trivia game that I know all the answers
Oh,
to.
dude, it's not even like my wife will not play
Yeah, my wife
trivia
won't
games
either.
with me,
It's
and she's
crazy.
like, "There's just no point. It's not
That's
fun."
funny. We should have a couples night, and you and I be on the same team against our wives.
That wouldn't be fun at all.
I know it'd be kind of fun.
I don't know.
It'd be fun for Josh.
Nah,
Yeah.
we'll go against each
you know
other.
what
I'll
we
just
should
I
do
don't want to lose.
Is if we do another podcast or something, we should have
Let them pick the.
let them pick the question.
I love that.
We get buzzers.
I love that.
Yeah.
We'll do that. We'll do that. Okay, so I would like to talk about the scary movie you did, and I think it was more recent than maybe 2020. Was that?
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
And it's called A Bedtime Story.
It's a bedtime story. Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, we'll get to your newest film here in a second, but this one came on after I'd watched Fault Lines.
So you had no intention of watching
I
it.
had no intention,
Yeah.
and it came on, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. It started off interesting enough that I was in. You know, so great job on hooking you right away.
You're welcome.
And I was watching, and I was like, I like where he's going. I didn't know I assumed you had directed it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you actually wrote this too. And I'm just sitting here watching it, and I was all in, dude. I was like, I thought that you would go. What I loved about this is you didn't do the stereotypical thing. You went against norms in that, and you even the decisions you made, and it wasn't predictable. And I loved. I was genuinely nervous. I was in my studio by myself, and I go, it's been a while since I was nervous.
Yeah.
And I won't give anything away because you need to go watch it. But A Bedtime Story, I think it was great. Do you prefer working in that kind of darker stuff at all?
I think I do. And what's funny about that, if I may just do a quick postscript on
Do whatever you want to do.
No. Is that originally that short was there was this. Are you familiar with Texas Frightmare Weekend?
Yes,
Okay.
vaguely. Yes,
Vaguely. It's a horror con.
I
right?
would love to
Yeah.
be a part of it.
Well,
in
there
any
was
way, shape, or
there was a contest that was make a fake movie trailer
form.
for a movie that doesn't exist, and so that's kind of what spurred it out.
Okay.
Spurred it out. That's not a word.
Oh, I like it.
No,
that's how we're putting out movies now.
that's how it started, and so I was like, okay, I'll shoot it over a weekend, and then my buddy, my co-writer, co-producer buddy Jason, he was like, why are you wasting time a whole weekend on a fake trailer? Why don't you just put a short out?
Yeah, it's good. It's good advice.
And so, because like if you're gonna be, having a crew and they're gonna be, why don't you do something with, do something a little bit more with it? And so, what's funny is that I have a horror trailer that I made that's different, shot in the same room, with same general idea, but a completely unrelated one that's on my Vimeo as well. It's called Dirt. It's a Pet Cemetery ripoff. It's fine.
That's awesome.
But then, as I was coming up with the story for A Bedtime Story, I had the hook in my head. Like I want, you kind of just have two people in a
Right.
room, and how can you tell two stories in one, essentially?
Yeah.
And then one day on my drive home from work, the twist just kind of clicked with me.
Right.
Ran it by my co-writer and everything, and he's like, "Yeah, it sounds good. It's great." And so I think I literally wrote that, the little girl's story version. I think I wrote that in
A few minutes.
an hour, maybe. I mean, it just depending. I mean, not very long, but as the creative process often happens, right?
Right. It comes in spurts.
Yeah. And so, because I wasn't sure I was going to do it, and then I have, look, it's so fortunate that the people that the friends that I have, the actor friends that I have. So Todd Terry, who's the lead in that,
Great actor.
He's been on every iteration of Breaking Bad.
Mm-hmm.
He was Hank's boss. he was in El Paso with Danny Trejo. He was in El Camino, and then he showed up in the last episode of Better Call Saul.
That's awesome.
And he is just, and I met him at the Christian Film Festival.
That's cool.
And so he and I met because we both he lived in Plano, I lived in Plano at the time, and then we've just stayed close, and we just enjoy working together. And there's this little girl that she's the daughter of the makeup artist. And
Really? She did such a good job.
No, like she has had very little experience,
Especially that last reveal. So good.
and it was tough because it's a lot of dialogue, and she literally stayed up all night. The makeup artist, her mom, great. She's awesome, Jamie. And but she was like trying to be like a an actor, child actor mom and a makeup artist, and she was just pumping coffee, and she was just off the wall. I mean, she was just
right.
And but then whenever we would start rolling, she would do it, and she did a great job. And the girl, the woman that plays the wife is actually Todd's wife in real life. And
Oh, that's awesome.
and then I had another buddy named Dalen who had the beard. He's the bearded dude.
Yeah.
I just said, hey, can you come up for like 30 minutes? That's all I need you for. And he's like, anything, whatever. You got it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to ask you how you did some things, but you guys should go watch these, and in the notes we'll have a link to where they can go see it if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
But there's some cool shots in there, and I'll ask you later after, so I don't ruin anything.
You talk about the feet?
Yeah, of course. How'd you do that?
I had her.
How'd you know? Yeah, that's what everyone asks.
No,
right?
it's so we
It
had,
was so cool.
So we had dolly track, right?
Yeah.
And it was on my stairs at my house,
Uh-huh.
and we had a guy up on the top of the stairs, guy at the bottom of the stairs.
Dude, it added. So I gotta tell you, you're describing it, and it added so much to it being scarier.
Oh no, it's
Like,
great.
Because the scene right after that, where he's standing there trying to put it together,
Yeah.
and like reacting, so many things went on in my head, and the way you did it, ended out. God, I'm dancing all around this. It's perfect. It's perfect.
No. And so what we did is we had her. She's a yoga instructor.
Okay.
So she, and dolly track is kind of one that it folds, right?
Yeah.
So we had to keep it, and basically we had her float. We had, it doesn't really spoil anything. It's just a one shot. We had her floating up the stairs, and so she basically like
she's just holding herself.
she's just holding herself like this.
Yeah.
And they just moved the dolly
trying
track
to keep her feet.
and keep her feet just going up. Because all I needed was for a second. That's
Yeah,
all I needed
that's
for.
really all you needed.
And then she did, and this,
It's so good, dude.
Yeah.
It adds so much to the moment I saw, like, I don't like where this is going at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. No,
It
it
was
was
so
it was
good.
a lot of fun, and again, it's if there's one thing that I think I'm good at, it's just being around people.
Yeah.
And that's really I love being around people. I got like whenever
Yeah.
I get on set, that's
fun.
like that's my office, right? And so I love being around people. I love having fun with people. I want people to be engaged. And also know, hey, this is an all-nighter. This is going to suck, all
Yeah.
right? But here's some pizza,
Yeah.
and let's have some fun and make a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have the same vibe here too. Like, we just want to make cool things. We want to have fun. We think you can make great things and have fun in it, even when those fun things take some crappy things to do to get it done. And that's awesome, man. To go from that to Fault Lines, which what was the actor's name? Your friend
Todd Terry.
Todd Terry. He's in this too.
Yes.
And
He's in everything I do.
Great.
Yeah.
Great in this. Like, he plays kind of a break your legs kind of mafia dude that has it all figured out. He's like, his back and forth with whoever he's talking to is great.
Yeah.
And we won't give anything away on this one, but some great shots, great locations. I like what you play. It was cool.
That
It was cool.
the diner
is
the
so
diner
cool.
was the lady needs to charge more. She charged us $25 an hour.
Oh, wow.
And so we're like, all
Where
right,
do
we're
they-
gonna wait till it gets dark.
Let me know where that is.
It's in Capel.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Really, and tell me what all that is doing. Fault Lines. It got. Once again in the show notes, you can go check out. Links to watch this because it's so good. Fault Lines.
Yeah, and it's so yeah. So
it was part of the Dallas 48-hour film festival, which is actually, we shot it a year ago.
Okay,
Essentially
yeah, it
this
makes
weekend.
sense.
So,
Oh, cool.
So this weekend, they're the 48-hour film festival starts. But this won't air.
Are you in this?
No.
Oh, this year? Okay.
No.
You're going to decide in 48 hours.
Yeah. No. I love doing it, but it's kind of like, I'm not going to compare it to giving birth, but I will.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Is you don't necessarily want to have a baby right
Right.
after you deliver one.
Another one. Yeah.
Unless you have twins and you don't have much of a choice.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not going to do it this year. It was fun. It was one of those things where, again, some of my friends were like, "Hey, we haven't done anything in a while. This is just a good way to force us to do something."
Yeah.
And we had some actors on call once we got our prompt. And so, yeah, our prompt was either a climate film, which we weren't going to do because we don't have a budget, or a crime gangster. We had John or Jeanette Rainster. Those were, and they had to be a rodeo cowboy.
Okay.
So we had to have
that.
that.
Explains part of that.
Yeah, and so
I wondered where that tie-in came from.
yeah,
Because I thought such an interesting, whenever you'd call back to that origin story or whatever.
yeah,
I was like, such a specific. I honestly honestly thought he might be telling a personal story. Whoever wrote
No.
this, because it was such a specific
yeah.
relationship that I was like, this is personal. Now it makes sense why it came out.
Yeah, so we had to have one of those. We had to have one version of that character, and this is everybody. So every team had to have, John or Jeanette Rainster. Everyone had to have a tennis racket.
That's great.
And then everyone had to have the line, so in other words, you won't help me. And so those were every movie had, and I think it's a little shitty, but I kind of get it because it makes it harder.
Right.
But it leans towards comedy.
Right.
Right. So it leans towards, and
I see that.
We have no problem doing that. But when we got crime gangster, we're like, okay, comedy, it's really hard to do in 48 hours when you can't really flesh it out.
With a comedy.
I mean,
that's crazy.
it has a very high likelihood of being stupid.
Yeah,
in
that's
48
right.
hours. And so again,
Did you? Oh, I don't want to talk.
We can
shit about other.
No,
other,
yeah, well, we can get to that.
Go on. Continue.
No, but and so then we picked crime gangster, and then we're like, you know what? Let's just do like a one location type of thing where it's kind of like Heat.
Yeah.
And you have two people talking, and you can just, we have the good, Danny, she's our actress,
Which she killed it going back against Todd.
She's great. So she's a co-producer of me and Jason. We three just do stuff together.
That's great.
And she had 2 kids and hadn't done anything in a while. She was doing a lot more producing, but I'm like, hey, let's just, and she's a little bit more method too. So I got to direct and handle that whole scene just with a care that I never had before. I was always like, you just do your lines or whatever. But I wanted to give her the space to get to a certain headspace.
I was actually, no offense, Todd, but I was really impressed with her.
No, she's great.
How she brought it in that scene, especially.
No, she's great. And so again, I guess to go back to it. So I have this is kind of backtracking a a little bit.
Oh, it's all right. Backtrack away, man. I'm a big fan of Lost. They did a lot of flashbacks.
Oh no, yeah.
So,
I just watched. Me and Jackson are.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're all me and Hannah and Jackson are going through season 1 of Lost. But
that's great.
So how it kind of all came about was I was working on a documentary pre-production about like just church abuse.
Oh,
really heavy. Really, have so many stories that are just awful. It fell through. Mm-hmm. But in that, I met my executive producer. Her name's Lindsay Barnes, and she's like, "Hey, I just want to be on set with you. I just want to see." She was pretty green to being on set with stuff, but all she wants to do is EP. That's all she wants to do. She has no desire to direct, write, anything. She just wants to essentially fund movies. That's her idea. She has a production company, and so I said, "Hey, here's an excuse for us to do something." Mm-hmm.
So let's do this. I met her, so you're always nervous because you're bringing someone in from a different creative space to your creative space. How are they
Right.
going to gel? It was flawless.
That's great.
And so she came in and she was just such a great, different kind of presence that we needed on set, and she clicked with everybody. And so that's kind of how the origin of that started. But sorry, I wanted to bring up Lindsay because
No,
she's
that's
a
great.
boss.
That's great. And if any of those team members ever want to come on here and chat, I'd love that
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be cool. Sounds like you kind of got the idea that we do, and I think a lot of people do, is like it takes a good team.
Yeah.
It takes a great team to make great
Yeah.
stuff.
And it's one of those things where it's not my movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's ours.
The collective's
it's
better.
ours. And
Yeah.
and it just keeps you honest. It keeps it not focused on you. Guys, again, my tendency is always to be like,
Well, I guess I'll do everything.
guys, I guess I'll do everything.
Yeah.
But no, we had a DP that's on my team at work, and he wants to do a lot of cinematography, and it was one of his first. Or I mean, he's done a couple, but he had a real vision for, and I really wanted to enable that
Right.
vision of his. And so I was more excited when he got nominated for cinematography at the Worldwide.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we won Dallas, went to the Worldwide one.
Right.
And we placed in the top 13 or whatever, so we got to go to Cannes.
That's
Um,
amazing.
I didn't go. I had my other team, because I was worried that I was going to be like, how there's a Starbucks in Kroger?
Yes.
Like it's not, like it's in Kroger and it's a Starbucks. Part of me was like, it's in Cannes,
yeah.
but is it going to be like,
Is it official
is it gonna be-
can, or am I going to be in
Yeah,
some
which it-
ballroom?
Exactly. But we were in Cannes.
the real?
Yeah.
Cool.
And so I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And but also I get really self-conscious because it's a movie we made in 48 hours.
Right.
Is it going to hold up in other festivals?
Right.
Let's be realistic. You know
It's
what I mean?
kind of cool that you get this one to kind of, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time ever asked to Cannes? Is this the first time
Oh,
you've
yeah.
ever?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Sorry. I should ask that better. But it's kind of cool to send the short film that way and kind of test the waters with your name attached to it.
Yeah.
And go, look out, we got more coming.
I wish.
Well, you do. It's just as even though you
hasn't
don't have
happened
it, it will.
Yeah, we want to.
Based on what I've seen, and I know nothing except I've taken in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
And that would tell me that I kind of know what is good and what's out there. And I think what you're doing is just as good, if not, and the way your storytelling is good. And that's what I think ultimately what matters, right?
Yeah.
We can always get, and I'm not saying that you need to get better.
I do.
Well, don't we all? But I'm not saying this because of anything I've seen. I'm just saying our tools and everything can get better, but your storytelling can also get better. But you're already there, I think.
Yeah.
And the way you're telling stories is on par with, if not better than most things I've seen on what I watch. So,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So in that, like, I know you just had an art baby. And
Yeah,
that's
sure.
why-
Sure.
if that's how we're using it. It's
Yeah.
not the metaphor. What's next on the horizon for you? I mean, it's probably just taking time, finding the right project.
Yeah, the thing is now is like I'm hungry, but I'm not starving in the
Yeah.
sense of
Which matters.
it does, and not from the sense of like, oh, I have a steady job but like I like consistency, and so I get enough of a creative itch out of what I do every day.
Right.
But then I'm co-producing a little traveling documentary portion of we're going to Israel in November with Dr. Tony Evans, and who
cool.
I've worked with I've worked with him a lot. He's awesome, and they asked me to kind of co-produce this Israel segment of this greater
That's
documentary.
so rad.
And again, like it's not I have to kind of put on a different hat because it's not my job to be creative. It's my job just to be a champion for the crew,
Right.
make sure everything's, it stretches some muscles that are just good for me to work out.
Right.
So that's in the immediate future, which is but then I got a series coming up that I'm producing, I think with Matt Chandler,
Oh, cool.
And I get to produce and direct
That's
that.
rad.
And so I'm hopefully that'll work out in December. That'll be for work.
That's cool.
And then me and Jason, we've talked about doing doing features and seeing what that looks like. Okay, what's the commitment looking like? Do we have to produce it?
Right.
And there are some companies that are interested, and it's like, I hate marketing myself. I don't like it. It's not really. I kind of just want the work to do the thing.
It's like it's kind of like the grossest part of what we got to do.
Yeah.
It's a necessity, unfortunate necessity.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with social media a little bit with me.
And so now we probably have the most heat
Right.
because of Cannes.
Right.
Just because it's Cannes, right? It's
Right.
not. And I still think there's an asterisk on there because it's a speed filmmaking.
I don't know, man. I'd take that. I'd take the asterisk. I can't even say the word. I would take it off.
Yeah, and I guess it's just I'm a little bit. My biggest fear is being delusional.
Yeah. Well, that's probably keeps you a little hungry too.
Yeah, and it's just I always want to get better. I always know that there's
Yeah.
something to learn, but I also just don't want to think that my shit don't stink. Like I just don't want.
Yeah. Well, that's what you don't want to get back on your heels too much, and I think that's probably a thing that we all kind of do that keeps us hungry and go keep checking ourselves, because we know that comes for the greatest. Some of the greatest artists start putting out garbage. I mean, like, and you wish they would go back to those hungry roots. They'd get hungry again, like you said.
Yeah.
I don't want to once again talk shit about anybody, but because I'm sure I put out, as a musician, I put out songs that are safer than others because I got comfortable. I put sweatpants on creatively, and sometimes I need to get back into the lean state and start working out and start getting hungry again.
Start putting on those jean shorts.
It's like jorts.
Yeah.
Like just start doing lunges.
Oh yeah.
Just like run on the beach with Apollo Creed, and then jump around in the shallow ends of LA. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Rocky 3.
No, of course I do. I'm just wondering if anyone else is in there with you,
Yeah.
hugging you in the water.
Not just me and Apollo.
Just you and Apollo. Oh, so
Yeah.
there is someone.
Yeah, it's me and Apollo Creed.
Rocky may be my favorite film franchise, by the way.
That is mine too.
Yeah.
It is mine. I've said that a lot on this podcast.
Yeah.
We watch it every November. We go.
That's a
through.
good time.
Yeah. It's
And so when
supposed-
Creed 3 came out in March, I was like, I don't like this. I need this to be a
I still need to
Thanksgiving
watch
movie.
Creed 3.
Creed 3 is great.
Yeah, I hear great
It's-
things. Once again, the
yeah.
last several years I've been slacking in the movies, and I apologize to everyone.
No, I took Jackson through. So during COVID, I took him through Rocky 1 through 5, and watching him watch Rocky 2 during the slow 10 count, I've never seen a kid more invested in anything in his life. It was so great.
Man, those movies shaped who I am in some way. My dad was a pastor, and we got these Betamax given to us, and I don't know where they came from, but we had boxes on boxes and like hundreds of movies that were filmed from like HBO and Cinemax.
Oh yeah.
And they all were labeled and categorized. Whoever had them before us, it was like a library or something. And we had all the Rockies in there, 1 through 5. And we would watch those religiously, man. And we thought we were going to be Rocky Balboa. Never boxed a day in our life, but we thought we were going to take on the Russians that way. I mean, it was all through the sport of boxing. Oh, man. I have an unhealthy desire to just play Survivor all the time.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But that movie, and then sharing it with my kids is such a big moment for each one of them. I don't know what it is about that, but that series is timeless somehow, at least to young men. I don't know about, maybe, what would be the girl equivalent to that, you think?
Girl equivalent of the Rocky series.
Of the Rocky series. What do you think?
Twilight?
Is there? That might be it.
Harry Potter.
That might be it. Yeah. Maybe they need a $1 Million Baby. They got one out of that.
That one. I wouldn't, we don't want to see a sequel.
Yeah.
It's not going to be.
Maybe it's a Suicide Squad. Maybe that's it.
Oh,
Maybe it's
God.
Harley Quinn. So when the right thing comes along, that's when we're gonna see that next thing.
Yeah.
I feel like you probably have some ideas.
Yeah,
You don't have to talk about them.
No, I will, because there's some that are they're probably never gonna happen. But I am very fascinated with how people respond to grief, and so
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do something where it's like the same thing happened to two people and how they.
both process it.
Yeah, it's not a super original idea.
No,
but,
I think that's great.
But I did have one that was always a lot of fun. That I wrote maybe 20, 40 pages of it, but it was called Scout's Honor, and it was an alien invasion movie that was out in the woods with a bunch of scouts, and we're talking like
That's a good premise.
it's been done since the idea has
Oh,
happened.
really? I haven't.
It's fine. It's
Dang it.
But kind of. And so I have so I had that, and then they had to use their scout skills to survive the night.
Right.
And they were all named after former presidents. I just thought that was fun.
That's cool.
But that was kind of an idea, and then one that would be like in my delusional career. The first movie you hope is like, oh, maybe it's like a $5 million movie. Like, it's not
Right.
gonna happen. It'll probably
Right.
be under $1 million, if at all. So like my second or third movie, I would want it to be this movie called Black Friday, and
Okay.
it's essentially Lord of the Flies, but people get stuck like in a Sears on Black Friday, and they get snowed in, and it's essentially just. This is what Twitter would be like
In
in the
person.
flesh. And so you
Yeah.
have your wasp blonde mom who's
Right.
the most dangerous person in
Right.
that room. And then you have
you have every
kids.
segment.
You have every-
yeah.
You have people holed up with the guns.
That's
you got,
great.
You got people, and so that's always something that I've always like, man, I've written
Would
about
you-
half of that.
Would you base it in modern times
Yeah.
or in the 80s or something?
I think
like
the 80s would be better
Yeah.
because you kind of eliminate.
that's
all the
that's
technology.
now that's how we get away from like
It's too convenient.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
too convenient to have a cell phone. You're not on.
You could have a ton of fun in like a Dick's Sporting Goods kind of thing in a modern time,
Oh yeah.
like a 2-3 story like super sports store,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because then you could get people leaning into strengths because they got different things there too.
Or a
But-
huge Bass Pro Shop.
You see, no, you guys are ruining it.
We are ruining it. That's
kidding.
what every storyteller hates the most, by the way, whenever someone takes their own thing and goes,
No.
hey, what you should
You know
do."
what would be good?
Yeah.
No,
yes.
no, I'm just kidding. No, but I did think that
What you gonna want to do?
it would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
really funny if the electronics, the TV section,
Yes.
that every time a character would walk by it, there would be something that playing that would be informing
Like
that,
what's happening.
that character. So
Yeah,
so
that's great.
I imagine like you had this like I had in my mind it was Paul Giamatti. This is when he was a little bit younger, or the guy from Stranger Things, the reporter, the conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
Is he's there to impress. He's there to. He's like a beta male who's there to
Right.
impress his future son-in-law or his stepson. His stepson, and he has like a warrior to a wimp to warrior moment.
Right.
And it's right in front of the TVs, and Popeye's chugging
Playing.
down spinach right behind him and everything.
Yes.
It's like this really big hero moment.
That's great.
I'm giving way too much away. This is probably not good. For
Yeah,
me.
we can cut it all out.
No.
Maybe
no.
the right producers watching.
I doubt
You
it.
got 5 million. Let us know.
I need at least 50. I think.
50 million.
Yeah, it's a Netflix movie probably.
Netflix movie.
Yeah.
Hey, we got some friends that look at Netflix. You're watching. Awesome. Well, is there anything before we can go? You have a website or anything you want to plug?
No.
Okay, we need to get that. Social media. I'll tell you this. Do you have a name or your production company?
I don't have one.
You should have one.
I do have. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to name it right now, but
No, I had one. We had Code Red for a little bit, and then
and then right
They
now
discontinued it.
I just don't. Yeah, yeah. Once the Mountain, yeah.
What's the Mountain Dew?
It was a Mountain
It was
Dew.
like-
Yeah. No, I.
Sorry, that's the stupidest joke.
It's so weird. Is like I just don't care to.
Yeah, I mean your name's enough.
I am gonna do, if I ever have one. I have a son named Jackson and a son named Xander, and so Jack Xander Films would be my perfect.
That's good.
But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm pretty. I don't know. Just don't really want to risk. There's a lot
I
of
got
risk
it.
involved with that kind of stuff, and
Yeah,
I
it's hard to put your name.
I
on
need
something
someone just
first.
to hand me a check
Yeah.
and stay out of my way,
That
and then I
works.
can do what I want. So if anyone else is, offering that'd be great.
I don't. What's that job description? I mean, that should be in more job descriptions.
Yeah, give me money and then stay away.
Get out of my way.
Yeah.
Man. We're gonna cut that out for sure. That's too political. Jesus. I would like to ask you. We're gonna jump back because I have one question that came to mind. If you were to pick a favorite scene in Halloween, out of all the series, what's your favorite scene? I think mine's going to be stereotypical answer, so don't be afraid of that.
So just the series?
Series, you can pick anything in the series. I think the first one's probably gonna, or two. The first one's gonna be an obvious, probably one we choose from. Maybe. I'm gonna ask you the same thing about the Rocky franchise too.
So
maybe best fight.
Best fight.
Favorite
Well,
fight.
you do your Halloween one first.
My Halloween. I'm gonna say that again. My Halloween pick. I probably got told this at a young age that I should care about it, and that's why I think it's a stereotypical answer. But that kill that he makes, where you just see the silhouette from the side profile, and they stab, and then he turns his head and stares at it.
Yeah.
It's the first time he's kind of admiring what he just done. And goes,
Yeah.
I think I like doing this.
Oh yeah.
That is a creepy moment.
Oh, it's fantastic.
That's the first time, and I saw this too young, so the right time.
Exactly.
Right time
Yeah.
for this movie. I shouldn't have been watching it. I was sneaking it and watching it too young, and even that moment, I go, well, this is very unsettling. Like this, there's something definitely wrong with what he's doing there. I whatever was supposed to be conveyed, it did it loud and clear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably.
I'm sorry if I took the right one.
No, you didn't.
No,
You didn't. I think it was always to me whenever you'd see him in the back. Like for what it always worked for me is because there's a little bit of the Halloween that's kind of there's a Where's Waldo element where where you hear him breathing and you don't know where he is, and so you're just scanning everything. And I always thought that it goes back to what Hitchcock did. It's a pretty well told story. Is that he would frame a scene. I'm not sure what movie it was. And then like the shot was really well staged, and then he would put the phone in the way, like almost like to where then
something obscured the shot.
Something that obscured the shot, and then he's like, I want you to watch the audience when the movie gets screened, and everyone, let's say the iPad's the phone. He would look, and every one of the audience members was doing this.
That's so good.
And it creates this engagement of something's obscuring, but you're so interested, you think it's actually in the room with you.
God,
And it's not something that's I don't know if it's teachable. I think it's just
it's
instinctual.
breaking the third wall.
Fourth wall?
Fourth wall. That's what I'm saying. Without breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, it's immersive.
Because it's immersive. Right.
Yeah.
Right. You're playing with them without.
And I think with Halloween, it has some of that elements. Whenever like there's so many things. I think the opening scene when I saw it for the first time, where you realize
Yeah,
it's a
he
kid,
does it there too.
Yeah, you're always it's very voyeuristic. It's very intrusive. It's and then when you see it's a child, and I think what might have given me the most chills in Halloween 4, if I may.
Yes,
so it's
please go.
It's the return. At the very end, when Jamie stabs her mom.
Yes.
And Donald Pleasance is yelling at the bottom of the stairs out of horror, and you see her holding a knife. I don't think I've ever had chills more.
Donald Pleasance so good.
He classed up the joint. I know that Eric is a Nightmare on Elm Street guy, and I do respect it. For me now, it's gotten a little bit too gruesome for me going back. I don't know what it is, but the fact that
I've done a good dive back into it.
they're really like they're acid trips on film. Like they're great. And I think it's the third one. The third one's the Dream Warriors.
It's that or the fifth one? The Dream Warriors, that's the one where the girl does gymnastics, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the one where Nancy.
That's the fourth one.
That's the fourth one. Yeah. I like that one. I think maybe third's Demon Child. Gosh, I don't know. I'm less familiar.
Continue. I don't want to interrupt.
I'm less familiar with, but so yeah, it's weird because you have people who are Friday the 13th people. You have you have Halloween people, and then you have Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
And it's for some reason Halloween. I think it's Carpenter for me.
Yeah.
Just that influence, and that dude's just wanting to cash a check. But I'm a big.
Isn't that crazy that was just his? That was his mindset in that, and he still just killed it.
Dude, well, and I'm a really big fan of the new trilogy.
Oh yeah, it's great.
I think it's great. And I think there's some of those moments that you're talking about, like great moments. I think there's so many great callbacks in the 2018 version.
Yeah.
And that was the movie that I wanted.
Yeah.
And then Halloween Kills is its own thing, and then Halloween Ends is so. I'm a big fan of huge swings.
Yeah.
And so it's not what it was advertised at, but I still found it fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I already got my Michael versus Laurie movie in 2018. I didn't really need that again.
Right.
And so, and then John Carpenter's score in all three of those.
Yes.
Is
great, right?
Yeah.
That was great. That's awesome. We could go into more Halloween. Maybe we should do another one in October.
Once Halloween gets a little bit closer.
Maybe we have a Halloween night up here.
Oh, yeah.
Do a triple feature and just do a companion kind of podcast. Rocky, same question. Your favorite fight, I guess. Let's do that. You could do that or montage.
Right. I think Rocky IV fight in Russia is probably
so good.
It's ridiculous. I just always thought it was really well filmed, and then I watched it in HD. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of phantom punches in those.
For sure.
But I don't know, man. Like, I understand that there's some people that don't like Rocky IV, and I get it. It's one of those that I saw it at the right time. It's my favorite.
He looks awesome.
Oh, he looks fantastic.
He looks the best in that movie.
He looks incredible. I thought all the back-to-back montages, I'm here for it. I love the analog versus.
Paulie is great in that movie.
Oh my god, so great. And Paulie's got a great scene at the end. When he's like, if I can unzip who I am and want to hop into you. I like. There's so many good.
And the comedy in that.
Yeah.
The callback to that statement, the full of heart. He goes, "Hey, remember that thing I said about?" Yeah. Forget that. He goes, "Oh, thanks." Stallone is so good at that little thing.
He is
like heart with comedy.
I don't think people realize how talented Stallone is.
So good.
And granted, a lot of it's just his voice, and he can't. Yeah. He just comes across like a boxer who's gotten hit in the head too many times. But that dude, Rocky IV is probably in my top 10 all time. Even though I objectively know
you're not supposed to.
It's not supposed to be.
I think 3 or 4 are my favorite. Like 1, I know it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I obviously think if I was going to have someone watch 1, it'd be that one. But 1 out of his series. But and there's one I was putting up against like best movies. I'd throw 1 out there. But 3 as a kid and nostalgically seeing Hulk Hogan come up,
Yeah.
Thunder Lips, and then Mr. T, and then Mr. T again, and then Mickey and all that stuff. Like, but I think if you're talking from start to finish, Rocky IV is the better one. That's the better one to go back and watch. If I'm only gonna watch one in November, it's gonna be Rocky IV.
No, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. I think now the first Creed has, I think, overtaken the one what I think is the best one.
It's so good.
And
Creed 1 was flawless, dude.
it is. I think it's a miracle. I think.
How do you do that? He paid so much respect to the OG.
Yeah.
But still made it completely something different.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The way the director was Coogler.
Coogler, yeah.
And
it's fun.
no one's better at. I don't know if anyone's taken a series and made it as good, or could put it on the same shelf.
Yeah.
With so much respect as than that.
And it was cool. I'll name drop here. So in May we were working on a project, and we're able to interview Coogler.
Yeah, I saw that on your social media. I think it's great.
For a little bit, like an hour. And I don't really geek out. I try not to. You want to be respectful,
right?
And not really make it because we were talking about some serious stuff, and so but I got to go up to him and be like, the Rocky series meant so much to me and my dad growing up.
Heck yeah, dude.
And just thank you. And that's it. That's all I said. But there's just like a, it was really, I was terrified saying it, because you kind of want to keep it professional. You don't want to geek out, but like that, and I think it meant a lot to him and his dad.
I feel like he understood the gravity of what he was doing when he took that job. Plus, if I remember correctly, and you would know better than I would.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Get that tally mark ready. But he actually kind of had. Did he have the idea?
He pitched Stallone several times,
right?
And it wasn't until after Fruitvale Station that I think
another great film, by the way.
That
with Michael B. Jordan. Yeah.
That I think Stallone kind of listened. Stallone had no need to hear something that, but I think Fruitvale.
It could only. I mean, you would assume it would only tarnish the Rocky franchise by allowing someone else to run with it.
Yeah.
Statistically, you would have been like, and Stallone has to know that that's one of his greatest, if not his greatest legacy, right?
Yeah.
So to hand that off, man, he had to know. I wonder how many people said, you should let me take this.
I honestly don't know if it was all him or not, because he traded the rights away.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
I
know nothing
to the ring to the Winkler. He's in a bit of a spat with the I think it's the Winkler family.
Oh, really?
Because they're the producers, because he sold the rights, or he didn't have for whatever reason he forfeited the rights at some point. And so he kind of thinks now that they're trying to like milk his which is a tough thing.
That has to be so, because it's so personal too.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, his whole, I follow him on social media, so occasionally, and I'm not on social media a whole lot, but for some reason I get a lot of Stallone. And I remember him recently taking his daughters up to the spot where it's like he did that famous, it ain't about how many times you get knocked down, it's about how many times you get back up.
Yeah.
And it's so written in his like legacy, his DNA, all that.
Yeah.
It has to be kind of like him being in his twilight years, even though he looks awesome. He looks like he's killing it still. I'm sure he wants that. He wants whatever he can of that original property back.
Oh yeah.
So, Sly, talk to us. We'd love to help. I'm just kidding. So in closing, is there anything else you want to push. When are we gonna make something together? Is what I really want to get to. I think Eric needs to be your lead actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's shaking his head no.
Maybe if you got a house near me. we
There
could
you
talk
go,
About it.
neighbor.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
Gosh, you know, I just love movies, man. Like I just love watching them. I love making them.
It's clear, man. It's clear in your work, and it's clear when you're talking about it. It's awesome that when we meet someone that gets to do what they love doing.
Yeah.
And it not only satiates that creative side of us, because so many of us are told at an early age that you're not supposed to do that creative side of you anymore. You're supposed to go get in the cubicle.
Yeah.
Or this or that, and not that there's anything wrong with that. And some people, that might be their goal. I mean, but for myself, and it sounds like you and the other people in this room, it's not necessarily the route we were wanting to go or stay if we had to do that for a short time.
Yeah.
It's great to see someone that's good at what they do, not only do it, scratching that side of themselves, that itch in themselves, that side of themselves. We like to scratch all sides of ourselves. It's great. We don't want to.
Yeah.
But also seems like you're doing it in a professional level. That's also providing. That's amazing that you get to do that.
Yeah, and that's the rub is I know that, you know, with two kids and a wife and you know, a mortgage, and is consistency to me is more important than ultimate creative fulfillment.
Right.
And that's tough. I think I was pretty quick to, again, I like to think of myself as a realist. I don't want to be delusional. I don't want to be someone who mortgages my house on a horror movie that I think is, you know, like this.
It's admirable when you hear that origin story when they did that. They never really tell the story about all the people that didn't make it.
There's
right?
no doubt. There's a lot of homeless people out there who lost their you know. I never want to feel like, oh, I can go to LA right now and make a movie and support my family.
Right.
But I can still have those creative outlets, and that's the great thing about some of the speed filmmaking is, all right, this is a weekend. It's a tangible amount of time. I have a beginning, I have an end, and I'll have something at the end to show for it. And so that, and again, and that's just, and I like working fast, and I like doing all other stuff. And so, but at the same time, there's too much to lose for me to throw it all on there, and
that's smart. I think that's smart. I think you're at a point where I think we all are, that I'm going to find a way to do that creative thing, and I'm also going to I'm spitting everywhere. We all work in a field that's kind of scratching that creative itch also.
Yeah.
That allows us to, maybe it's not so much of a sprint. I feel like the guy or the girl the creative that mortgages their house, they're looking for that sprint and solution.
Yeah.
And I think we're more marathon kind of creators. Like, I'm going to consistently make great things if I can and get better as we go. And eventually I don't need it to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the pace right now, and I'm getting better at that, and hopefully I'm getting quicker too in the process as I attain skills, as I attain relationships with people that we end up working together, and I think at the end of the result, I find it.
Yeah.
I find myself satisfied, even though maybe sometimes I'm wanting, quote unquote, a bigger audience, I guess. If that's what I'm wanting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, at the end of the day, I find out I feel pretty happy at the end of every day. What else am I wanting right now? And I feel pretty good about the way I get to create and express myself. And it feels like you're kind of there too. You have goals, but you're not
Yeah, I find my
Any rush?
I find my I don't know, like I can kind of shift it. So it's like if it's one weekend where I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go make a short film this weekend, and that'll be fun, and that'll just be an exercise. Like literally,
Right.
a Bedtime Story was, hey, let's use 2 lights, and I'm finding my ways. Like, hey, let's do an exercise here.
Yeah.
And then I have one that I can send to you, but it was a comedy, an absurdity comedy exercise that I
Please
did.
send this to me.
And it's ridiculous, and I haven't showed it to a lot of people. It was a lot of fun.
Great. You're like Jack White. You know Jack White?
Yeah.
You're like Jack White, but in filmmaking. You give yourself limits, and you go, boom, I'm doing this.
The Jack White of filmmaking. I like it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
think
You
it
need
fits.
more odd hats that come
Yeah.
that don't match the rest of your outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
No.
with the feather in it.
But if it's not, oh, I'm gonna go, go make a movie. It's like I want to go watch a whole bunch of movies, and there's something therapeutic about that where
Yeah.
it's like I'm learning. It's school. It's oh man, this director broke this big rule.
Right.
Why?
Yeah, why did they do
And
that?
and not be critical of it, but like man, this is like yeah, it all these rules that you learn in filmmaking and stuff. You
love that.
you tend to break them too. So yeah.
At what point did you? Is it always like this? I'm going to ask you one more question because new questions.
No, that's
pop
fine.
in and
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
I mean,
should
we
let
have a
you go.
captive audience. It's not like they're going
yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When you're writing,
Mhm.
do you? I'm trying to find the way to ask this in not the stereotypical way. You prefer? Do you feel like your art because I feel like most things you're involved with the writing a little bit that you're doing in these things, right? Feels like well.
Yeah. So yes, I mean there's a long answer. I guess like for a Bedtime Story, that's just kind of something that I did and kind of would I sent it to my writer and to my
And there was
co-writer
rewrites,
partner.
kinda.
Not, I mean he would just give me thoughts and then I would tweak it or not based on that.
Cool.
But as a director, I feel confident when someone like for Fault Lines or something, the first draft was sent at 1 a.m. and
Right.
we were shooting the next morning. So I look at it for an hour. I make tweaks that I would make,
Right.
but I don't ask for any writing credit. It's just director input.
Right.
And so I definitely I feel really comfortable if someone sends me a script and they want me to direct it, that I'm going to change some stuff so I'm more
Right.
connected to it. But I don't need the writing credit for it.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, there's definitely input.
When you're writing like that, whenever you've pulled the trigger and say, "Hey, we're gonna do this,"
Yeah.
what do you? Because I'm so fascinated with story.
Yeah.
I feel like the story matters so much. You can take it's. I don't know. Even with no script, if there's a story, it's kind of easy to make a good story sound interesting with very little. I think sometimes.
Yeah, and well,
Well, I guess my ultimate question is, what intrigues you about pulling the trigger on a story? I guess, like, I want to tell that.
I think like for me and what we do is we will have the script, but then there's flexibility within that to where it's like you kind of have your structure here. So you like you make there's an old saying where it's like you're making 3 movies when you make a movie.
Right.
So you write the script, that's one. You shoot it. You realize what works in that script, what doesn't work. You make little tweaks. You have the actors go in and they're able to kind of mold that clay a little bit. And then in the editing room, you get to rearrange it a little bit more and realize what doesn't work. Like in Fault Lines, I don't think in the script we ever cut back
Yeah.
to the cotton mill
Right.
where we get the answer.
You don't.
In the script, it's not there.
Interesting.
But when we're on set and I'm watching Adam do his thing,
Yeah.
and this is a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm not too worried.
Right.
I told Adam, because I had an idea, I'm like, hey, I want you to play this 2 ways. I want you to do one where you say kill her
Right.
with remorse, and then do one that you don't have a second thought. You are betraying your wife. You take her. And I had
know
him
which
play
one
both
you-
ways.
Yeah.
And you know which one that I used.
Yeah.
And then at that point I realized while I was shooting that scene, I'm like, I'm going to cut back to this
Yeah.
because I'm editing it. And so there's a real fluidity.
Was there when you were editing that? Was there a definite tonal shift in the way he said that to the story? That's interesting.
Yes, because it became,
because that's a pretty big moment.
Yeah,
there.
it became less about what happened to Johnny, and it switched to
Why
did he say that?
Right.
And then there's the uncertainty of not knowing. That is somehow like you got what
That's
you
the
wanted,
worst part.
but you still don't know. So it's a lot like The Gift. Did you ever watch The Gift?
Yes.
Yeah. And so there's like the idea of like words matter, but you don't fully
you're
know.
You're sitting there with that reflection in that shot. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And
that was by accident, by the way.
Was it really? It looks intentional.
It was intentional, but it wasn't in the storyboard. Like one of the crew guys said, "Hey, look at her reflection. It's all fractured." I'm like, "Okay, let's shoot it."
Yeah,
And
that
we
was
just shot
a
it.
good move.
And so I mean, it's one of those things where you listen to people who have their own who have their ideas, and I'm like, "Oh,
real good move."
I'm going to shoot it. It may not work, but it really did.
See that, and you also wonder if there's going to be anything with any clarity coming into, and nothing. Well.
Yeah, well, and yeah, and so what was funny is that
Golly, that's such a good shot. Dude.
I go to Todd, who's our bad guy, and he told me, and this is just interesting. Like he told me, whenever Adam said what he said, Todd's like, I already knew what I was gonna do as soon as he said that. I just wanted him to say it.
Yeah.
So it's like, so he was able to play it in a way where it's like, it's more. He gets off on the manipulation of that more than. That's just
it was
his own
great.
satisfaction.
It
So,
was great, man. Well, go watch Fault Lines. Go watch A Bedtime Story in the links in the show notes. Is there anything else, like any other movies you think they should go check out and I'll put in the story?
We did something for the Louisiana Film Prize where you had to go shoot a short film in a certain parish.
Okay. That's cool.
And we made the top 5 there. It's called Scoundrels.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that one's fun.
I'll put all these in the show
yeah,
notes, so it's
yeah.
real easy to find.
And then
that
if you
way
want
can follow.
to see the fake trailer, it's called Dirt.
Dirt,
It's
yes, you mentioned
kind
that
of a
too. Great.
companion piece to
That's awesome.
Bedtime Story.
How about one last thing, if you to our listeners,
Yeah.
if you were gonna say 3 movies that if you said 3 movies that describe me, and we won't include Jaws and we won't include Halloween because we talked about those already.
Okay.
3 other movies that you're like, oh, if there were 3 movies to on top of Jaws and Halloween, these movies are describing, or Rocky, these movies describe me. I know I just threw that at you. I'll throw to give you a moment to think about it.
Yeah.
I'll say 3 movies that for me. All right.
All right.
And I'm coming up with this off the top of my head, but I know they're going to be true. High Fidelity with John Cusack and Jack Black.
Yeah.
Let's say, oh man, probably Pulp Fiction. And that's probably the most obvious answer out of all these. And then, I'm going to say childhood movie, Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins.
I have a list of my top movies of all time that I can use as reference.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure that out. Top movies of all time. I mean, my number 1's High Fidelity, only because I know it's not the. When I say top movie, I'm not saying favorite or best movie. I think that I like. It's one I connected with at the right time, right age. It helped me in a lot of ways, a lot more ways than I thought. Relationship-wise, High Fidelity opened me.
I don't like High Fidelity,
Interesting.
but I know it's great.
Yeah, I get why someone. I realize I like it an unhealthy amount, but it was just one of those that I was the right
Yeah.
age, clicked with me.
Yeah.
It helped me with the relationship advice, whether it's good or bad. It helped me with the relationship advice. But so did Reservoir Dogs, so take that with a grain of salt.
3 movies. I'm a big emotion guy.
Me
like,
too.
Like not
I
a
get
big
that.
emotion guy. I'm a big emotion guy.
Yeah.
Like you need to, like, And so,
I love playing big emotion actors whenever I'm in scenes.
okay.
Yeah, I love. Golly, sorry, that's a
No.
whole lot. But those are always the fun. When I was minoring in theater, that's I would always try to go for the who could be the most emotional person. I want to be that in the scene. Yeah, that makes sense probably.
A little.
Me. Yeah.
Just a little bit. A little bit. Okay. I would say Whiplash.
Great. Tension.
Best edited sequence of all time in my mind. The last bit. I may give you more than 3. Sorry.
Give me as many as you want.
I'm going to say Hereditary.
Okay. Man, when you were talking about grief, I almost took us down that road. The Hereditary road.
We can go down that road.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
And then Short Term 12.
That's such a good movie, dude.
I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna say a lot. That would probably be the most that out of our listeners, most of them haven't seen Short Term 12. Out of all the movies we named, I feel like that one would be the one that's the quiet when they're gonna go.
And then I'm gonna say Warrior.
Such a good movie, dude.
I mean, it's
got a Rocky.
It's
vibe.
a Rocky movie. It's a Rocky
vibe.
movie.
It is.
It's literally Rocky 1 through 4.
I watched it
Yeah.
twice in a row. I watched it once, and my
Yeah.
friend came over, and I go, "You got to watch this movie with me." I watched it again right then.
Yeah, and those are probably, and then
And cried both times.
I love The Raid. I don't know if you've
Yes,
seen The Raid.
that's a
and,
good
and
movie.
Get Out. And,
Get Out's
and
great.
Looper.
Looper's so good,
Yeah,
dude.
I showed
Underrated.
I showed that to Jackson, my
Rain-
13-year-old, and he loved it.
Yeah. It's
So yeah,
good.
like in Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler's so good too.
All right,
Those are good ones, man.
that's
So
more
that
than
you
3.
just got a watch list to
Crash
go watch.
Course. Yeah.
And next
Ooh,
time,
The Gray.
The Gray. That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could keep going.
Yeah, I
We
can
could
keep going. I have a whole
Yeah,
list.
yeah.
I have an all-decade list.
Well, for sure, we'll go into next time more of those movies and grief when it comes to Hereditary. Maybe we'll do we're just gonna have to do like a filmmaker. We're doing Ari Aster night. We'll do.
Yeah.
We got so much content. All right. Well, thank you for being here. I
Thanks for having
appreciate
me.
for coming in, staying late, and doing what we do. And we'll have you back. And we've even talked about doing a movie podcast. So you'll have plenty.
If the people want it.
If the people want to come let us know. And everything in the show notes, check it out. And we'll see you next time. Later. Was I supposed to ask if Todd